So I'm not 100% sure where I'm going.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
thinking,
hearing your answer saying, let me just kind of wander through them
yeah.
all and kind of. Once upon a time, brush off your storytelling skills because we are opening up to some parables. Mark chapter 4, verses 1 through 34. We got Jesus talking about sowing some seeds. We got bushels with lamps underneath them. We got seeds growing and a mustard seed. So lots of farming going on. Adrian, welcome back. Here we
Yeah.
are talking about what you will be exploring for the upcoming sermon here at Riverside. How are you feeling about all these parables?
Oh, I love parables. I love the thickness and juiciness of them, that they are not, that they don't just tell, a singular story, that there's so
Yeah.
many ways in, and there's so many messages that come out. You hear people say, this is not the parable I read 10 or 20 years ago. And so
Yeah.
it's wonderful. They're like puzzles that you keep turning and finding new gems in.
I find it so interesting that the parables seem to stop with Jesus. Like the rest of the New Testament is Paul's epistles mostly, or epistles
Yeah.
attributed to Paul. And I'm like, oh, why couldn't Paul have been a storyteller like Jesus was? They're just so rich with the, like you said, everything they open up. And the Greek word for parable literally means throw alongside. And the idea was you're
Wow.
telling this story and you're throwing it alongside some other concept. So the kingdom of God is like a farmer sowing his seed. He's just throwing a metaphor alongside this. And I think just the vastness and the mystery is so ripe with potential for just, something to sit with and explore.
It is, but and one of the things I'll say about parables, though, because you're like, why did they stop with Jesus? I think it takes a really creative person to talk in a parabolic fashion. Um, it takes energy. And if you've ever tried to write a parable, they're not super easy, especially the way that Jesus does them. They're complex, they're
Yep.
layered, they're colored and shaded. It's really amazing that you come back to them and see things that you never saw before. And that takes work. Paul is much more prescriptive. He's much more
Yeah.
do it like this because I said so, so that we don't, catch any hell before Jesus gets back. And also, was under a different sort of pressure.
Yep.
Paul thought Jesus' return was imminent. He's trying to keep this ragtag community of faith together so that they don't come to the notice of the Roman Empire and perhaps get crushed. Whereas Jesus was teaching and had some time to sit with and
Yeah.
marinate and chew on. So I think they just had two different pressures on them.
Totally. They were setting out to accomplish different things. And
Right.
so
Right.
what we see from them in the Bible accomplishes those different things very,
Right.
very clearly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so these parables, they cover the gamut for just a
Hmm.
little section here. Anything you think you are drawn towards? The parable of the sower seems to be the headlining act in this little lineup of parables here. But anything about them that you're like, ooh, I like this one? Because to remind you again, there's the parable of the sower, so the dude throwing all the seeds on the different types of soil. Don't hide your lamp under a bushel basket. There's this one that's unique to Mark, where it's the parable of the growing seed. That's verses 26 to 29. And then the classic parable of the mustard seed. What are you feeling in your
Right.
spirit, at least at this moment?
I'm thinking a lot about the mustard seed. I think simply because I saw a video recently. I know the parable of the sower always puts me in mind of Octavia Butler's science fiction novel, which if you haven't read, The Parable of the Sower by Octavia Butler, I highly, highly recommend it. Oh, look at you! Yeah, she's quite brilliant. Just really brilliant. Of course, I'm often intrigued by the light as well and how light spreads. And I think in this new year, we're still in the first month of the
Mm,
year, and we got our Star Words a few weeks ago, and mine was fearless. Thinking about light and what it does and what it accomplishes also is intriguing me as well. So I'm not 100% sure where I'm going.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
thinking,
hearing your answer saying, let me just kind of wander through them
yeah,
all and kind of.
maybe I'll talk it through with Jim and fit it in, and at the end of the sentence, I'll have figured it out. Um, the notion of growing is intriguing to me. I think at this point of the year because there's a lot of good things growing at Riverside at this moment. We are hearing from our members that they are feeling a noticeable shift in the energy and atmosphere in worship. The way there's a through line, the joy that is coming even more than ordinarily from our choir, from our music department, but also from the folks gathered, from the gathered community. Something is growing, like something is afoot. Seeds have been planted, I think before I arrived, but certainly since I have arrived and working with my amazing team, which includes you, Reverend Jim, I think we're starting to see some sprouts and some growth.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I'm thinking a lot about growth and what we have put down and the roots and
Mm,
what we are watering with and how we're talking to one another,
mm,
engaging each other, and how that impacts the fruit that we produce, which I
yeah.
guess brings us back to the parable of the sower, right? The rocky seed and the dry ground and the fertile soil. I think there's a lot of fertile soil at our church. And as Reverend Lynn Castile Harper often says to us, and she said it to me just yesterday, we don't bring anything to a community. We encourage, we notice, we
Mm.
nurture what's already there. So maybe that's where I'm going.
Oh, well, again, if nothing else, that just shows the power of these parables, how they just open up these worlds that we can explore and find so much meaning. I mean, these are stories from 2,000 years ago from, agrarian Palestine, and now here in our, concrete jungle lifestyle, we're still finding meaning in these same metaphors and parables and finding God continuing to grow something through them in us and in spite of us as well. That's
Right.
wonderful.
Yeah, and I think what you just said about how God continues to grow in us, I think that is the hope and the good news in these particular parables. No matter our age, no matter what we've done, no matter what we have failed to do, there is still always this sprout
Yeah.
of hope. And as my dad says, I'm actually at my parents' house today, and he just said it this morning. How are you doing, Pop? I'm still here. I still got a chance. So that notion of growth, that with each day, with each sunrise, and each time we open our eyes, there is the possibility that the seed that God is planting in us can
Yeah.
sprout and grow a good thing and a useful, helpful thing for the
Yeah.
world.
I love it. I love it. Well, so Bible Geek moment again. These parables
Mhm.
are fun for lots of reasons. I think it's worth noting that the parables listed in this little section, and this is true of most of the parables Jesus tells us, most of them don't get an explanation. The parable of the sower does. Jesus in the text here is
Right,
like, let me
right.
tell you what this one means. Let me break it down for you. But most of the time, they are just kind of this cryptic, mysterious story. It's like, rather than tying it all up with the moral is, it's kind of just
Hmm.
like, all right, have fun, play with that for a little while,
Right.
which I just think is so radical because
Yes.
I often want to be like, let me tell you what it means so you know the right answer,
Right.
versus let me just weave a tapestry that you can snuggle up in and
Right.
see how it feels. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, what a concept for how we think about faith formation and theology and all the things that we do in
Absolutely.
our work.
Right. And this was the way that rabbis, conducted themselves and continue to
Yeah.
conduct themselves. This understanding that there is wisdom that is shared, a story that is presented, and then the community together in conversation, in dialogue and back and forth, in questioning one another, challenging
Yeah.
each other, figure out together what this story means in this context for this time. And that's why 10 years from now, when you pick it up and read it, it's not going to mean the same thing because you'll be
Yeah.
10 years older and you will have lived through some things and the community will have shifted. And I think that is the brilliance of parables. They speak
Yeah.
to the moment, the context, and the people who are reading them. Yeah.
Beautiful. Oh, well, that just makes me excited for what's going to come from the pulpit, everything you're cooking up or cultivating. Maybe we should stick with that farmer metaphor for this preaching moment. Uh, And as always, it's going to be a lot of fun to see where it takes all of us at Riverside and where anyone who's exploring this text might be taking it for their sermon or Bible study as well. So much potential to explore with these parables. It's almost like these are the hardest sermons to preach because you could go in so many directions. It's not like, okay, it's like,
Yeah. At
but
least
that's fun.
27 directions, at least.
Pick one. The challenge is just to preach one sermon instead of all 27.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So it's full and it's rich, and as has been happening the last few weeks, I will probably preach absolutely nothing that we have talked about here today. Because stuff
Oh, but
happens and then I'm like, oh, this is the direction.
but even that is always wonderful as well. So it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. All right, I'm gonna shift us now, and we're gonna play a game. We did this a couple
Great.
weeks ago. We did it last week. We are going to play some Theomoji. This one is hymn edition, not as in him and her, but as HYMNN. So these are. I'm gonna give you two. You get two chances. This is a hymn. Do you know what hymn is being represented here in emoji? Yeah.
I think it's crowned him with many crowns.
Yes, yes, that's right, that's right. Okay, okay. No, not to intimidate you, but this next one is a little bit harder.
Is it
So
also a hymn?
it's also a hymn. So we're still in.
Okay.
You got that parameter. Okay, you ready?
Ready.
It makes sense once you know it, which is true of all these things.
Oh my gosh.
I'll give you a hint. This lollipop to me represents something being sweet, sweet, and then what would this represent? The headphones.
Sound?
Yeah. There we go. You're kind of narrowing it in. Sweet sound.
I
Think of a
thought
hymn.
about there's a sweet, sweet spirit in this place.
Oh, I should also say this isn't the title. This is the first line of the hymn.
Oh, okay. Sweet sound. Something about loving the sweet sound. Love sweet sound. Ah.
My love, the
Which
love is
one?
throwing you
Love?
off a bit, but that's good. It's good.
Oh, it's not love, it's heart.
Yeah. Okay, this is the shortcomings of emoji. Sometimes you're stuck making something mean something without something.
Okay, what's that wow? Is it wow? Is it surprise?
I mean, if something is just like amazing, yeah, it's gonna give it away now.
Amazing grace, amazing heart, amazing love, sweet sound. I don't know. Because the poop
Amazing
emoji.
grace, how sweet the sound that saved
Saved
a
a
wretch like
wretch like
me.
me. Amazing grace, so sweet. Ah, that's hilarious. I would never have gotten that.
Yeah, that one. See, I told you that one was the advanced level. Parables
Totally.
sometimes are left without a perfect interpretation. Theomoji, it's the
Right,
same. So,
right. I wonder if anyone out there got it. I'll be really impressed if you did.
well,
Yes.
whether it's a parable or a theomoji, there's always something to make you just go like, "Huh, what does that mean now?" So,
Yeah, yeah. No, that was excellent.
all right. Well, let us know in the comments if you got these Theomoji hymn editions correct, and
Yeah.
we'll have more next week because it's just fun for me to make these up and to challenge you and whoever else to play them. And looking forward to where the sermon's going to take you and all of us, and then we'll keep doing this. We got a lot of Mark coming because that is what the narrative lectionary is leading us into for the next, at least through Pentecost, right? At least Easter. We got a
Yes.
good chunk of Mark, so
Through Easter.
we're going to read the whole book pretty much. It's a short one,
Yes.
so it's going to be good.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that on the next one. See you then.